I was going to add, when I found out more about it, I was invited to a group of Black entrepreneurs. So our take on it was to be, come together as a collective to, like you were just mentioning, to pool our funds together so that we can basically take back our own communities, since many of these opportunity zones were in our communities already. What we were trying to do was to make sure that the area didn't become gentrified, basically, because we would have some influence. But the thing that concerned me most, and I'm wondering about, is has the window passed? It seemed like I remember from that workshop that there was a bit of a window for this year. How is that set up? What do people
Yeah.
need
So,
to know
so
right
this
now?
is
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna respond to this because this is probably one of the two biggest misunderstandings
Yeah.
about the law. All
Okay,
right. So let me give a
help us
bit of a
out.
background about how the law works, and then I can address that particular concern. All
Okay.
right. So I like to describe the opportunity zone law as a two-sided tax benefit. So the two sides is that if I have capital gains, so that means I sold stock or some other asset or a property not including my primary residence, because the first $250,000 of that is not viewed as capital gains. But let's say, or if you sell and you get more than a $250,000 gain on your primary property or your primary residence, or if you have another investment property or that you had been renting out or whatever, and you get a gain from that, you use that money and you invest in these opportunity zones. You have a 6 month time period to invest in an opportunity fund.
Okay.
And if you put that money that gain that you got from the sale of that asset, you otherwise would have had to pay taxes on it at come tax time, right? The first side of the tax of the opportunity zone law says you get to defer the payment of those taxes. So that means you don't pay taxes this year. You actually don't have to pay those taxes until the earlier of your liquidation of your investment that you made with that money, or 2026, right?
Mm. Okay.
2026. So in 2026, you are going to pay. So 2026 is important in response to your question, but I'll
Yeah.
get back to that, right?
Yeah.
So
2020.
2026, right?
Remember.
It also says, as a part of the first side of the tax of the law, that if you hold that investment for a 5 year time period, that you get a 10% tax basis step up, which means you get a 10% discount on the taxes that you would have otherwise had to pay. So if you hold for 5 years, you only pay taxes on 90% of the money that you otherwise would have had to pay taxes on. If you hold it for an additional 2 years, so 7 years total, you get an additional 5% tax basis step up, which means you get a 15% discount on your taxes. So you would only pay taxes on 85% of the money that you otherwise would have had to pay taxes on in 20 now, right? So in
Mm.
2026, if you hold it for 7 years, you get a 15% tax basis step, 15% discount.
Okay.
That's the first side of the tax law of the benefit. The second side of the benefit, which is a much more significant piece, is that if you hold your investment for a 10-year time period, that you get a 100% tax basis step up, which means that you pay no taxes, right, on the appreciation of whatever this asset is that you purchase, right? So so let's just understand those are the two sides of the tax law.
Okay. Well, let
This
me understand.
window that everybody
Oh,
keeps talk that people were talking about, because there's a ton of confusion around that,
mhm.
is this idea that you had to get in by the end of 2019.
Yeah.
And that's simply incorrect.